Welcome in the latest episode of Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for finding us on your podcast app or at Dash Radio on the Nothing But Net channel. If you don't have Dash Radio, we're there every day, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Pacific. It's a great place to find us. The Dash Radio app is free on your phone, and all you got to do is search for Nothing But Net. Also, check out fivereasonsports.com. Spell it out, F-I-V-E. Reasonsports.com for all of our latest stories, not just on the Heat, but also on the Dolphins, the Canes, the Marlins, the Panthers, Inter Miami, esports, MMA, and more. And our YouTube channel, we're about to clear 6,000 subscribers on there, mostly because of Al's post-game streams. But we have other stuff there, including Playing Catch Up, which is on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with Kylie Wang, and also with Tamara Brown. It's a 10-minute recap of everything that happened in South Florida sports. Also, check out our great sponsors. All of them are local. That includes Gonzalez and Tybor. You can find them at bankruptcyisgoodforyou.com. That's bankruptcyisgoodforyou.com. A recent report showed that over 45% of people use their stimulus checks to repay debt. And of course, we only got one stimulus check. So this is money that could have and should have gone to cover living expenses. Even before the pandemic, household debt in this country, especially credit card debt, was going up, and it was hurting families and small businesses. Nobody likes to consider bankruptcy as an option for dealing with your debt, but bankruptcy is one of the few laws that exist to actually help consumers. So before you make another debt payment that you cannot afford, or you do something drastic like empty out your 401k or borrow money from friends and family, why don't you talk to a professional about your options? Contact Gonzalez and Tybor. The website is bankruptcyisgoodforyou.com. The phone number is 954-378-8184, 954-378-8184. An attorney will answer your call, and consultations are always free. We've done not only by telephone, but also by video conference. So check it out, bankruptcyisgoodforyou.com, 954-378-8184. And now, today's episode.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5
on the floor.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily show on the Miami Heat and the NBA featuring Ethan Skolnick with Alphonse Sidney, Alex Toledo, and Greg Sylvander, part of the Five Reasons Sports Network.
All right, Ethan Skolnick back on Five on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. Yesterday, we went into the strategy of the Celtics Heat series, so check that out. That was with myself, Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and also Alex Toledo. Today, Greg is back. Alex has the night off. Alphonse Sidney is back from the stream, so he's with us. And we're welcoming in from Ballscast, another podcast on our network. And I believe, what year did you guys win New Times Best Pod, Chris?
That was last year. Last year we won it.
Last year. Did you get like a celebration tour? What did they do for you?
They wrote a 2-inch paragraph in a article filled with lots of paragraphs. So if you really, really, really read it, you'll find it in there. It was a dubious occasion, I think, but you know, it's cool. It was a cool way to get us to if anyone read that deep into the article, then they discovered us. Otherwise, I think the only people that knew about it are people that are already listening or my Twitter followers. But hey,
how did you celebrate?
We're appreciative. We just retweeted it a lot. And we really didn't do much beyond that. I did get a lot of flack because I used to work there, so they thought I had some kind of but I didn't. It's you know.
Wait. People thought you rigged a New Times podcast award?
Podcast award, yes. Okay. I mean, people were serious. Like, they were angry. So that was fun. That was a fun, good, 5 minutes. To be happy with.
Well, hopefully we never win that award here at Five on the Floor. People would accuse us of exactly the same thing. So Ballscast, if you haven't found it yet, Chris does it with our friend Slim, Kevin Mayer. Also, is Smoot still involved with you guys at all, or does he just use the Twitter account at Ballscast and keep printing out T-shirts?
Yeah, he's not a part of our group anymore. He quit. That was sort of a weird controversy with the three of us, because he just up and quit out of nowhere. He just like, I don't want to do it anymore. And he handed the keys over. He gave us the Twitter feed. We still can't get into the Instagram because he kind of got all confused with the passwords. So that's why we haven't been on Instagram. But Slim and I have been taking over the Twitter feed for like the last 7 months or so.
I swear you guys are the white light skin opinions because we can't find our Instagram password either.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's why neither of us are on Instagram. And yeah, he just decided he didn't, I think he didn't like being a third wheel. And I think he wanted to focus on the shirts and the designs and just do background stuff. Because a little bit of info in the background information, anytime we would have a meeting about, okay, what we're going to do, he would throw in a suggestion and we'd shoot it down. And then we'd come up with something and he'd be like, no, we don't like that. And then we'd shoot him down. So I think maybe that might've had something to do with him saying, you know what, screw it, I'm out. So yeah, he's still a good friend, but he's not part of it.
Yeah, so he's like the Magic Johnson of your group. He just up and quit. Actually, I think one of the big fights, and this will lead into your appearance here, was between culture and process, right? Because he is, and Greg can chime in here, Smoot. If you're not familiar with Adam Smoot, I mean, he has 6 names, so I'm not surprised that you're not familiar. But he is our brand manager at 5 Reasons Sports. He actually has a new T-shirt up on the site today, so check that out. It's based off of Jimmy Butler expression about the Heat being dogs. So check that one out. We got like 15 Heat shirts on the site now. But this was over the whole culture versus process thing, which of course our friend Slim follows Greg in this regard, that he is a big believer in that word that I didn't use for a long time, culture. And Slim thinks it's all bullshit, basically. That's essentially where this went.
Yeah, I mean, generally people who discount culture, it's an indication that they may not have been in a work environment that has that type of setting. No hard feelings to anybody, no shots at anybody, but that's generally typically the connection that we see, is that if you haven't experienced any culture, it's hard to identify it.
No shots, but you're basically saying Smoot has never worked in an office. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, he works with porn. He works behind the scenes with porn, if you didn't know, and he's very open about it. So I'm not really revealing anything.
There's not a lot of culture in the porn industry.
Apparently not. Apparently not.
It's a special kind of porn too. If you ever heard him speak about it, so we'll keep that off this particular episode. All right, let's get right to it. We've got Chris Joseph here today, precisely because we're not going to do any analysis of the series. We did that yesterday.
All right, so I'm just a clown here. I'm just.
That's no. If we were one of the clown, we would have been Slim. No, we want your take on this because we said before the series that this was not a very hateable Boston team, like as opposed to past Boston teams, like Paul Pierce in a wheelchair, right? KG mean mugging, at every white European he could find and then backing down in a fight. Rajon Rondo faking an elbow injury, with Dwayne Wade, which I still believe he did. All of that stuff. And Ray Allen, we liked him, and then he came to Miami and we liked him more because they stole him from Boston because they didn't want him anymore. And then even Rick Perkins, who we had various nicknames for, who all of a sudden is a Heat fan. So that was a hateable Boston team. Past Boston teams, if you were, following the NBA, a lot of people didn't like Bird and McHale and Parrish and that group. This Boston team seemed like a pretty nice group beforehand. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown is a citizen of the world already. He was involved in the protest. How do we feel now after 3 games of this series about the Celtics team, Chris?
Well, I hate them just by default. They're Celtics, and my hatred for them goes back to when I first fell in love with basketball. We didn't have a team in Miami, so I just became a Laker fan because I love Magic. And then over the years, I learned that, Boston's fans are a unique group. And by that, I mean, they're super fucking racist and they're very entitled. So it doesn't matter. Sure, Jaylen Brown, I think to me, if I had to pick one guy to be like the new Ray Allen, he's the guy you like because he's involved with social stuff, and that's very cool. But Jason Tatum thinks he's Kobe Bryant. He's got pubes for a beard. Grant Williams is just very gelatinous. He looks like he's just a amorphous blob on the court, scoring points, which is so annoying.
Very frustrating.
And of course, there's the white dude. Looks like he's a Proud Boy. I refuse to learn his name because it doesn't matter. And then you have Hayward with his antebellum mustache, and of course Marcus Smart, who's just the biggest prick in all of basketball. So I really don't understand what's likable about them. As you know, they're wearing the green, you hate them. That's just the way it is.
Chris, I tried to
Very-
explain this before the series started. Ethan
Yeah.
was like, well, these guys are likable. I'm like, no, they're not. He's like,
Yeah, I
why?
saw
I'm
that.
like, because they're Celtics.
Yeah,
Like, I don't
exactly.
care. Like, Brad
Smart.
Stevens, like, you didn't even go into Brad Stevens' punchable, stupid face.
Sure, yeah, that exactly. I even forgot to mention him, where he does look like a guy at the supermarket studying the cartons of milk, 2% regular, 2% regular, and he's there for a good 5 minutes. That's what he looks like. And not only, again, I think it's the connection to the fans. Just aside from all the crap that Alf and I do on Twitter and to tick them off, it really is just they're insufferable in that. Now, Hayward comes back, he scores like -1 or whatever, and all of a sudden he's friggin' Batman. Batman has showed up, and like, not the Michael Keaton Batman, the fucking Affleck Batman. He's the best Batman. That's what we're dealing with on a constant basis. You look at, especially Alf, because I try to stay away from it because I get nasty. Alf sort of is nasty, but he stays in control. And I like that because I can just live vicariously through him messing with Celtics fans. That's been a blast because that's what they are. They're very like, oh, gritty. Oh, it's all gritty. And they completely ignore that the 3 black dudes bailed them
4.
out in the last game.
There was 4 black
You know,
dudes scoring 20
like, there you go.
plus. That's
Yeah.
what like, and
Yeah.
and everyone got on me, and like even like Heat fans who and this is one of the things about Heat Twitter that bothers me more than ever is that everybody suddenly like is super deep involved analyst.
Right.
It's like I'm just like F. Gordon Hayward, he didn't do anything, and you
Right.
had Heat fans come up to me, well, actually, what he did when he got into the middle of the
he's screaming
floor,
in the middle of the
Oh,
zone
yeah,
and
man,
unlocking all of
So
the
you're
passing
surrounded
lanes.
by
Yeah.
Boston
No,
guys
we hate
going,
him.
you don't watch enough basketball.
I'll
and then
watch
you
the
have
game.
Miami fans going, bro, you don't watch enough basketball, bro. So it's like this, you're surrounded by, I'm sorry, the idiocy of it. But yeah, I find no redeeming qualities about this team. And if they somehow get by us, I'm going to root so hard against them in the finals.
So
But
you're
that's
going to root
jumping
against
ahead.
them. But backtrack a second because I want to get into the rivalry piece of this. But
Yeah.
you would root against them. Are you part of hashtag Team Petty? Were you part of hashtag Team Petty?
No,
I mean, they're gonna,
I was not. I kind of was trying to nip it in the bud when it first started, and I got almost kicked off Twitter because people were so angry. And I get it. I get why people don't like LeBron. But I, number one, appreciate what he brought for those 4 years. I know even through stories with Ethan coming on Ballscast and talking about his interactions, he just seems like a thoughtful, good dude. I mean, he's going to have his faults. He's going to crack. I know in the last couple week or so, he's seemed like a bit of a butthole. But I think who wouldn't be, like, having to hear all the crap he gets. But I'm one of those people that's super thankful for the 4 greatest sports years of my life. And I know he treated Riley like crap and very disrespectful, but in the end, we got more rings because of that dude. And he's the greatest player, in my opinion, of all time. And he played for my team. I think that's really cool that I can say that. So I'm not going to be Team Petty.
I've come around to that side. I started out on Team Petty particularly because I heard of all the Riley stuff that went on in Vegas and how disrespectful it was. And I just couldn't let that go because you guys know I'm going to carry that torch. But
Sure.
But now I agree with you. I've come around to that. I actually find myself in most cases rooting for LeBron when he's not playing against Miami, and he's not in a Cleveland Cavaliers uniform as a bonus too. So I would kind of hedge my bets and go in that direction too. Because the other guy in Boston that can kind of lean into the rivalry discussion, which I know we'll unpack further, is Danny Ainge. Like, I can't stand that guy. And he ain't on the court, so we forget that he's there, or at least I do sometimes.
Sure.
And there is nothing lovable about any team that's built by Danny Ainge. So let's
He's
just
so
make that clear.
swagless. Like when you see him, like if you put him, you put Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens next to Riley and Spoelstra, like it is literally Miami versus Boston in every single way possible.
They're very vanilla face.
They're very Boston.
Like if Riley was Cuban, would be the only way that
Right.
duo would be more Miami. But Boston those two couldn't get any more Boston, right? And like unless they were reenacting like a Revolutionary War battle, like and throwing tea into the fucking harbor. Like those guys are the most Boston-y looking front office head coach combination in the entire league, and I don't think it's close.
Yeah, and even he stumbled into these great teams. Like Kevin McHale basically gave him a great championship team, his old teammate, who's also my guy, by the way. I'm not going to get into that, though. And now he's, the Brooklyn, just like the previous owner gave him like a bunch of draft picks for washed out Paul Pierce. Like, sure, this is good for you. It's good for you. And now they got like nothing but number one picks, and they're able to just fall ass backwards into Tatum and Brown and those guys. So that's the super annoying part where Riley's earned it. Like he's through trades and salary cap maneuverings and all these things. And this Danny Ainge, like most Boston situations, they just fall into things, and it's so obnoxious. It goes back to Tom Brady in the 6th round. Nobody knew Tom Brady was going to be that, but he gets there, and now they have Cam Newton. It just never ends with that fucking city, man. Sorry.
All right, we'll get into the rivalry part in a second. Before we do, I want to tell you about another sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. You can bet against all the Boston teams if you want, and that's MyBookie. Winning season at MyBookie means doubling your first deposit. It means Survivor, Super Contests, and Squares. It also means hitting all your parlays and props with your feet up as you collect your winnings. So you got to go to mybookie.ag, and you can celebrate not only the NBA playoffs, but also the NFL season heading into week 3. The Dolphins this week play Jacksonville on Thursday night. I know you're dying to bet and watch that one. Invest in your intuition. Use the promo code 5 on the floor. It's 5 on the floor. You'll double your first deposit. New players get up to $1,000 in free play designed to add more excitement to the sports you love and the games you bet. Again, use the promo code 5 on the floor. Double your first deposit. The Heat are still favored, by the way, to win this series. They are no longer favored to win the championship. That was a brief thing before the Lakers went up 2-0 in that series, and the Heat fell down to 2-1. So you think the Heat are going to win the title? Still got some time to get in there. So use the promo code 5 on the floor at mybookie.ag. All right, so let's get back into it, because we talked about some of the reasons you all hate Boston. And the Heat have had, over the course of Riley's years, I would say probably 5 significant rivalries. All right. The first one was the obvious one, which was the Knicks, right? But when you suck for 21 years, you're not a rival anymore.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing to really remember over the past 15 years with the Knicks other than Amari Stoudemire punching a fire extinguisher and Danilo Gallinari making Dwayne Wade bleed his own blood, and Wade going off for 20 in the 4th at MSG. I don't remember anything else with the Knicks. And Iman Shumpert and Darren Davis blowing out their knees in a playoff series. Like, that's it. That's it. Mm-hmm. There's nothing else to talk about. So they're not there anymore. It was the Cavs for a little while because of the LeBron thing, but the Cavs are now, again, irrelevant. It was Indiana during the Paul George years, right, where they took that picture, that Backstreet Boys photo on the for a cover with Hibbert, right, the as everybody called him, the trash cab, right, verticality, and Paul George. And we've seen what playoff P is in LA, where now there's talk about actually trading him in the LA papers. So there was that team. But that there's no rival. I mean, TJ Warren is not a rival. That one really doesn't count anymore, right? Mm. So then you continue to go through the Eastern Conference. You're like, well, Toronto's not really a rival. They're too damn nice. That one really doesn't count. Milwaukee's not a rival in any way. The other teams at the top of the East, there really isn't one except for Philadelphia and Boston. So I would ask this to all of you: it's not even the teams. Which set of fans do you despise more? And which do you consider the rival if you consider, again, that Philadelphia looks like they're back in a tailspin again?
I hate the Boston fans more because at least the Philly fans they're douchebags. Like, I mean, literally some of the worst people on the face of the earth are from and live in Philadelphia. But at least they're not like super racist. Like the Philadelphia fans aren't just gonna fall in love with the first white guy they see. Like, it's not. they're a little bit more discerning. Like, they still love Allen Iverson.
Begs to differ, my friend. But yes,
dude. But like, I mean, their god is Allen Iverson. The other god is Larry Bird. Like, think Dr. J, Allen Iverson, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Danny Ainge, Havlicek. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And then Bill Russell somewhere around 11 or 12. And then, but between the fans, Boston fans are the absolute worst. Like, I mean, they came after me about Gordon Hayward. Like, I tried to send my kid to one of their schools. Like, they were just so upset. They had sticks and bricks, and they tried to stab me with an American flag. But as far as, like, the team, I hate the 76ers team way more. And I feel like that's like a budding rivalry, but honestly, Embiid won't let it be because he loves Jimmy too much, and like they hate each other more than they hate the Heat. So it's like, hey guys, it's like you want to fight somebody, but they just can't, like, they can't get out of their own way. So I mean, right now the Heat really don't have a rival.
No.
This playoff series might create one, and if there's some testy, back and forth over the next few games, it might be something. But there's really no rival right now.
I think part of the rivalry thing gets escalated and becomes more of like a paramount focus when fans are in the stands. I don't know how that works. There's some kind of intangible value to having fans in the stands that changes some of that, I think, because like if you really think about this playoff run, there hasn't been a lot of dust ups and like really like fighting from in the Heat series at all, or even like those like multiple technical fouls in games. Like, yeah, here and there's been little spots, but ultimately there's not that team that you just hate. And maybe it'll be the Giannis sweepstakes that creates some sort of rivalry where all of a sudden they have what's the word I'm looking for? A target on their back, and people start to hate the Heat again in a different kind of way. But right now they're the lovable underdog. So it's like, I don't know that anybody hates them yet.
Yeah, I agree with first of all with Alf, just that I think the difference, I hate, Philly fans are obnoxious too and just insufferable douchebags. But I think the difference between them and Boston fans is Philly fans are more self-aware of it. They wear like a badge. They're assholes and they know it and they love it. And they come at you like they know it. Whereas Boston fans are like, "What? We're the greatest thing ever. Like, what are you talking about?" And they have no idea. And you'll see Alf joke around with, look, there's a serious history of racism that comes out of Boston. It's a fact. And he'll say these things and there'll be like dudes in his replies being like, that's just a narrative. And they're just trying to defend this indisputable fact. Maybe you, sir, aren't racist, but your city has a long history of this thing. Not to mention, a whole city of, if you ever watched, damn it, what's the name of that movie with Michael Keaton? Batman. Spotlight, where it's a movie about a whole town that looks the other way, where priests are, doing things to children. And it took a Miami guy, the Liev Schreiber, or whatever the name of his character is, based on a real dude from Miami.
No, it's Marty Baron, who actually hired me at the Miami Herald. So
yes, Marty Baron, and he has connections with my old boss.
And offered me a job at the Boston Globe, and I stupidly didn't take it. So there you go. That's a little bit of my history.
There you go.
I didn't know where that story was going, but I'm glad it came full circle.
Because it took a Miami guy to push those reporters.
Ethan ran out onto the court like Spo did at Milwaukee earlier this year.
Ethan heard priest and child molestation and ran onto the court. Timeout.
I'm just reliving mistakes of my life that led me to this particular episode.
Sorry.
That's I'm familiar with Marty Baron, but you're right. I mean, look, I do think that's the key difference between the two, is that there is an awareness in Philadelphia. In fact, when they lost and when they got swept, and before Brett Brown was fired, I mean, they took out most of their anger at Brett Brown, not at people from outside the city. And then when he got fired, and then Jimmy kept advancing, they all mea culpa'd, like that Austin Krell guy who had that stupid tweet. And I forgot the name of the woman who was on we kept replaying that video of her. Crystal Rich, right?
Kind of cute though.
She fell on the sword. They all fell on the sword. They're all like, yeah, you're right, we suck. Boston fans would never do that. It would take decades, and they still wouldn't do it. So no. I do think that there's something to it. All right, I want to transition to one more thing here. We've talked about this a little bit on Five on the Floor, and I think we've reevaluated our own opinions. But Chris, I want to bring you in on this because, obviously you're a fan of the other team in town, which has predictably started 0-2. You even ran a Dolphins website kind of mocking them for a long time, and now there's actually more to mock over the past decade plus. But the Heat have provided so much more joy, obviously, to this market than all the other teams combined. I mean, there's only, I think that, the Heat have been to 8 Eastern Conference finals with basically the semifinals of their league since Riley took over in '96. The other franchises in town have done that a total of 3 times, advanced that far. The Marlins twice, the Panthers once, and the Dolphins once. Okay, that's basically what's happened since then. Where does this team fit for you, though? Like in terms of Heat lore, I mean, in terms of the way that you're going to evaluate them going forward. And it does, I mean, obviously they win a championship, it changes some, but from where it is.
Wow, that's a good question. I think I know Slim, my Ballscast pal and partner, tweeted out that it's probably his favorite, and I agree, my favorite non-Dwayne Wade team. So that's already where they're ranked. Obviously, wherever, like, even up to this point, if it goes no further, it's still going to be one of my all-time favorite Heat teams because of the unexpected things that they've done. And they are dogs, and they're fighters. And it's a weird feeling where the big three would fall 15, 20 points behind. And you're like, it's over. And you really don't get that feeling with this team. Even in this last game where they were playing like absolute shit, you still felt like they're coming. And they did. I mean, they cut it to, 5 points or something. Fell short because they had a bad shooting night, but that's the feeling of like I'm more relaxed, like, man, we're playing with house money. Like, this team should not have gone this far, and here we are. So you remove all the Dwayne Wade teams out of the equation, obviously becomes my all-time favorite non-Wade team, and that includes the Zoe Timmy years, which were a lot of fun as well when Riley first got here and made us into something, and the Knicks rivalry that you mentioned earlier. So obviously, I don't think I'm going to rank them above any of the big 3 years, maybe the Mavericks one. But for sure, my favorite non-Wade team. Again, even if they don't make it to the finals, they're already there in my book.
Greg, if they make it to the finals, do they elevate over a Wade team?
If they win it, to me, if they win it, it'll – I mean, we'll have that conversation there because it'll probably be a thing of, wow, it can really push it and move up to, number 1 or number 2. I think obviously my favorite Heat team is probably connected to the moment, which is the Ray Allen shot. That's my all-time favorite Heat team. But yeah, if they win it all, that conversation gets really interesting and really fun because I'll let's have that conversation, please God.
If they win it, it's more – I think it would be a championship that would be more about the organization than any one player or this hall of superstars or getting Shaq in a trade or something like that. So from that perspective, if you're talking about like kind of to lean into this culture talk, it would be the most cultured of all championships. We'll say that much. I don't know that we would love it the most, but so there would be a different element to it than any other one from that regard. But I like what you said about it not being like essentially any non-Dwayne Wade team, because I'm with you there. The 96-97 Heat were I held close to my heart all these years, and I've been screaming for him as people forget because they have short memories about that team. So I'm the one who's remembering the Road Warriors and hyping them up whenever I can. Yeah. And I think this team is past that team, and that's pretty crazy to say at this point.
Yeah, I never thought it would happen, but here we are. Until we found maybe another superstar, but here we are. It's insane. But
what's kind of what was actually a little special about this team, and it may be prisoner of the moment stuff, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be enduring through time. Is COVID, right? Like, we are miserable, and this it's palpable on like the timeline on Twitter, and when you talk to your friends and your family, like there's a misery around the country and around everything. And literally someone today just like, man, Twitter's depressing when the Heat aren't playing. Right? So what they've done, they've given us something to cheer about in a really depressing time in one of the hardest hit areas of the country. And it may, like I said, it may seem prisoner of the moment, it may seem wishy-washy, whatever, but I think it's important. Yeah, I really do, because man, once they got back to the bubble and the Heat were playing every other night, like it gave you something to look forward to after months and months of nothing to look forward to but the 4 walls of your own home. So I think that's what's going to make it really, really special no matter what happens. Like, people are going to be everyone's going to be mad. Like, if somehow they lose 4 straight or, the Celtics win a 7-game series, people are going to be pissed. But one thing I think people will forever be thankful to this Heat team for getting them through, giving them some joy for a few weeks out of some of the shittiest months in probably all of our lives.
Yeah, that's well said. And remember, this thing may end now. And you talked about this being an organizational thing, Greg. So in the first round, you play Indiana, which again, you have some history with, right? Then you play Milwaukee and the two-time MVP who you are trying to get to come down here in Miami. And then after you beat them, you could potentially beat the Celtics and shut the F up and manage your own team, Danny Ainge. And then on the other side, to finish it, you could beat LeBron. I mean, if you talk about this is and you know what? He won't, even though he told me 5 years ago he would. He won't. But if you win that championship, Pat Riley should walk out of that bubble and never be heard from again. He should just he should do what he told me he was going to do, which is get his wife, Chris Riley, not even celebrate, and just head to the French Riviera. Goodbye. Okay, he'll show up in Malibu at some point. Because to me, it doesn't, like you said, this is the truest test of an organization you can possibly have. And this one, in a lot of ways, I think it's his best build. And I think that this would be, in some ways, his crowning achievement. Over what he did with the Knicks, over making this market relevant, over LeBron and all that. But to put this team together with so many unheralded guys, nobody drafted above 9, right? And that guy is 36 years old, who you acquired at the deadline. This would, like I said, be his crowning achievement in a lot of different ways. And to beat LeBron to finish it, to basically say, you went out and handpicked your superstar to play with, went and did it in my old city, okay, where I chased around Jerry West, and I became a head coach who won championships, and for Riley to beat the hated Celtics and then beat his old franchise and the player he thought he was going to be with for the next decade would be remarkable in a lot of ways. So I kind of hope in some ways that he just says enough. I did it. Spo, have a meeting with Giannis in a year and a half. just let that play out, because I think that'd be a cool way to end it. All right,
that'd be so cool.
You can catch Chris Joseph at @ByChrisJoseph on Twitter, also on Ballscast. Make sure for all of us, make sure that you go to manscaped.com and use that code 5RSN. I still got your kit here, Chris, so I'll get that to you here.
Yeah, I'm a mess down there. I need to.
Right, I know you're using it religiously. So we'll get that to you. Also, check out all of our great sponsors. That, of course, includes Biscayne Bay Brewing, the official beer of 5 Reasons Sports, of Inter Miami, and also of the Miami Marlins, who are actually in a playoff position right now. Biscayne Bay is owned by local guys and employ people in this community to make their beer right here in South Florida. They're committed to the community to support 5 Reasons Sports, so we can keep bringing you all the local sports content that you can handle. So if you care about supporting local business and drinking amazing beer, grab their stuff, Marlins Lager, Miami Pale Ale, Tropical Bay IPA, at all major retailers or my apartment in South Florida. It's the beer we're drinking at 5 Reasons Sports. All right, when we come back, we're going to bring you the interviews today from Andre Iguodala and from Jay Crowder. They did the Zoom calls, and both of them were really thoughtful, particularly Andre, who I thought had some really interesting things to say. So check that out, and obviously check out the pod that we did with Alex Toledo yesterday on the strategy of the series.
A couple quick ones for you here, Andre. First of all, is the time off a challenge because of the way you guys have been going about it, game, day off game, or is it a bit of a blessing, particularly when some bodies might need some time?
Well, you look at it both ways. If you, you just got to look at it. That's how the NBA schedule goes. And then we're like kind of creatures of the unknown, or just adapting, or being able to adjust to any environment or schedule. So just kind of have to roll with the punches. And then on the flip side, if you do have some extra time, you do have some things that you can heal with the body, and try to take advantage of that as well.
As it pertains to the thing that this defense takes pride in most, taking care of the paint first. First, how disappointing was the result of what Boston accomplished in Game 3, and then how much did that wake up the idea of what needs to be done?
Yeah, well, they did a really good job of getting to the triggers early and making their adjustment and executing their adjustment well. So, as you've seen before, the series become a matter of adjustments and counters, and then counter to counters. It's kind of a game of chess. So we got to do a better job of imposing our will defensively with our principles and the things we're trying to do.
Andre, first, I was just curious about an update on the back spasms that had you out at the end of game 2. Was that a factor last game? Was it a factor in not playing the second half?
Yeah, well, you just trying to, same thing, trying to roll with the punches and understand that, you got some unknowns and the body may not react as well as you would like. And one thing you don't want to be is a detriment to the team. And, just sticking through it and, being ready for whatever lies ahead for you.
And then in the last game, they try to park to a degree Enes Kanter during his brief stint on you defensively. We saw Kemba on Jay Crowder. You've been through this all the time with all your trips to the finals. How important is it, the adjustments to the adjustments, when you get into a game 3, game 4, game 5 of a playoff series?
Yeah, just doing a better job, myself and, anyone else when they're trying to throw something different look at you, just understand and get into those triggers quickly, a little bit faster in terms of what you're trying to do offensively. And, like I said before, making the counters to the counters and making sure that, we aren't surprised by whatever's happening and knowing what puts us in a good position offensively and the triggers and the things we need to do to make sure we're ready for any type of little nuances they throw our way.
Yeah, Andre, it's been clear that, in addition to the talent and the versatility, that the true chemistry that is on this team has been a strong point. The further along that you get in this playoff run, how much does that chemistry truly matter, and how are you seeing that pay off now at this point?
Yeah, that's important for all championship teams, to having that chemistry, especially on the court. Probably the only good thing about, being in a bubble is getting a little bit closer ties to the guys. That's all you have to rely on. The brain goes through a lot of different things, and in turn that might help you, when you're out there on the court, in those tough situations, spending more and more time with each other on the court, off the court. So you kind of really get a good read on your teammates, whether they having a good game or they having a bad game, knowing how to respond to them, know how to pump them up. All those little things part of that chemistry that, they don't show up in the stat sheet, don't show up in analytics, but it really helps you interact with one another as the game's going on, even when you're on the bench, talking about the game and how you can help each other.
Tyler and Duncan both have told me how much you've meant to them, how much you've helped them in such a short amount of time. I mean, what has it been like for you to come in at this point, be able to make such a fast impact? How have you enjoyed that relationship with those young players and specifically?
Yeah, well, I've seen a lot. I had really good vets, so very appreciative of what it's like to have a good veteran teammate, and just trying to do the same thing for my guys. And I don't like when people know about that, so I like when no one knows. So I try to take no credit at all.
Well, they are giving you credit, both of them, for just kind of how you've been able to help. But what is special for you to be in a position to help to such young, talented players?
Well, there's a human element to it in terms of being a professional athlete that people don't really grasp, and the things that you have to go through and the mind goes through, especially when the game's over. And just having some success, whatever success that I've had, I've been able to realize that, it's like real life, and there's some other things that go on outside the game of basketball that, everyone's going to have to adjust to at some point, Father Time's still undefeated. So just trying to get those guys in a good mind space to, first and foremost, just appreciate the time that they have here, try to take the most of it, make the most of it, but at the same time, you build those relationships because we rely on each other, once it's all over.
Andre, to kind of follow on that, this is such an unusual circumstance. You've been through so many playoff series and deep runs, but typically a game is over, a loss happens, you go home to your families. It's just a different environment. Here you're in the bubble with these guys. What has it been like? And just simply as a human being, what has it been like being there now for almost 2 months? How mentally taxing has it been?
Yeah. You have good days, you have bad days. Luckily for us, or I shouldn't say for us, but for myself, it's been more good days, which, I really can appreciate. Sometimes I have to remind myself to, stay positive on those bad days. Like today's like kind of like a really shitty day, but just trying to stay positive through it all. I understand like we really are blessed to be in this position. I got to keep reminding myself that. But at the same time, that's what's helping me. My teammates have helped me through, those down days. I haven't had many, honestly. So when those guys are having down days, I'm there for them. So I think that goes into the chemistry thing, just picking each other up. And, I think, this environment we're really built for this environment. It kind of puts us in an advantage and just keep reminding ourselves of that. But that's brought the team even closer together. We were already a tight-knit team. So, keep telling ourselves and always plan to play to the end. So, that's been our focus.
Thanks, Andre.
Andre, Michelle's been here, I think, just about as long as you guys have. What has it meant that the leadership has been here to see good, bad, ugly, all of it? What has that meant to you?
Yeah, I mean, we knew she was going to be here from the beginning. I've been having a lot of conversations with her early on. Chris Paul has done a hell of a job. He's kind of – the work he does flies under the radar, and the work she's doing kind of flies under the radar in terms of, the sacrifices that are being made, the time. There's a lot of time put in. She said from the beginning, I got, how could I say I'm all in and really be there to support you guys if I'm not there with you guys? So she's in the trenches with us. And, I've been also reading lately. And, the leader of the next charge is going to be a woman. And just really fortunate and blessed and happy to see the position she's been in and taking advantage of it, and it's really supporting us and being behind us 100%. And whenever we called upon her, she's, exceeded expectations.
Does she help when you have those rare bad days? You said today is one of them. Especially when it got really bleak in here. Is it calming? Like, what's her leadership style, kind of?
She's no bullshit, so she come from that lawyer background. So, she performs well in any environment. It seems like the uglier the environment, the higher she performs, and especially when it gets tense and it gets, pressure time, that's when she shines brightest. And, we've had some tough days even before we got to the bubble, and it really wasn't looking good. And she was a voice of reason. And, there were specific reasons for certain decisions that were happening, and she made it clear and cut on why we should move in certain directions with whatever decision was being made. So there was a lot of pressure taken off of us, and she's just been performing really well for us.
Dre, when it comes to Boston's dribble penetration, what is it you guys have to take away?
Well, I mean, the defense is being proactive. When you're proactive defensively, it takes a lot of those things away. And when you're being reactive, that's when the defense has 2 and 3 options. And when that's when you're on your heels. And when you're on your heels, that's when you're rotating, and eventually you're running out of guys, and you're getting the looks that they want to get. So it's about being proactive, turning your weaknesses into strengths. And then, like, at the same time, the same way you have a confidence offensively, you got to have the same confidence defensively in your skill set. You may not be one of the highest jumpers, but you can, put yourself in, be a position guy where you can be in the right position to get the ball, whether you're, least or most athletic. So all those little nuances come into play as well. And, that's one of the things I try to give to not just a younger player, but, guys been in the league for a while. You're one of the top stoppers in the league, or you're a better defender than you believe. And, it's the same type of things. And then we went through some good film, not just after the last game, but the first 2 games too. So just trying to put that full game together. That's the benefit I feel like our team has, is that we still haven't put a full complete, our 8+ game together, and we're still in a good position.
Andre, your early years in Philly, you talked about the vets. Did you kind of did you ever visualize you would ever be there? Usually when you're 21 and you look at 32, you're like, I'll never get there. That's light years away, and now you're that guy. And players are saying, I played with you on NBA 2K, and when you were in the. How do you take all that in when you get older in this league? And the culture changes from the younger guys, and you kind of have to accept it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really that hard. It's just something that you're supposed to do. I forgot what book it was I was reading, but I think I've seen it multiple times in terms of once you've mastered something, it's your duty to give it back and teach it. So that's kind of my duty. I've seen it at all levels, high levels, and no matter if I'm, the main guy or the franchise player, or I'm one of the guys coming off the bench, it's being a veteran player, being a role player. It's a different way of being all in. It may not just be production, but it may be in terms of being a leader, being a good veteran, being a good teacher, helping the guys through the tough times, helping them improve, giving them that confidence at the same time, giving them encouragement. So I guess it's just, trying to, you reap what you sow, and you kind of just the energy that you put out there it plays a major part in your progression as a human being as well.
Do you get flashbacks to when guys used to kind of tell you that and you were like, oh man, what you talking about? Or did you always listen to your vets?
Yeah, I had really good vets, so it was like really easy to listen to them, and they did it the right way. And I wasn't one of those guys who was promised to be, make an all-star team or play in the Olympics or win championships. Like I didn't know I was gonna be in the NBA until I got drafted. So I was always appreciative of all the moments and just try to make the most of it.
Hi, Andre. Thanks for talking to us. Sorry you've been struggling today, man. After playing alongside Goran Dragic this year, I wondered what historical comparisons you see with his game and, opponents or teammates that you've played with or against in the past.
Yeah. Well, he's from a part of the globe where there's a very high IQ of basketball that's been played historically. So he has a very amazing feel for the game. He hits big shots in big moments. Plays with some confidence. He's been through the trenches, especially in EuroLeague and Euro basketball with his team, his country winning the championships. Can't pinpoint the year, but very recently. So, he's done it. He's got it in his game. He's been huge for us in the playoffs. I learned a lot about him from similarities between me and him in terms of regular season and he going to the playoffs. So it's been a joy to see. Great teammate, great guy. But he's kind of like just that prototypical high IQ Euro player. That it's just he's been very key for us. When he hits big shots in key moments. You've seen in the first quarters we start off a little slow. He'll be that guy that kind of eases back into our groove, and that 10-point lead or a 10-point deficit we may have, he'll cut it to 6 like that. So he's been a pretty huge part of our success, and he's been a stabilizer for us in key moments throughout this run.
Do you see any Manu Ginobili in his game at all?
Yeah, I never played with Manu. Only was an opponent. But yeah, everyone's thinking, the left hand thing. But I would say the simulators, they, like I said before, those big shots and those big moments, and then that stabilizer. Whenever the Spurs needed a bucket, Manu seemed to hit a huge shot. Got to the line when he needed to. Very crafty with their passes, and then that change of pace is very similar. But I'm explaining the same person when I say a guy who's Euro player, who's got a high IQ, who's done it well on an international level in big games internationally, and been able to translate that here to the NBA game and impose its will upon.
I want to introduce you to another of the great new sponsors of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and it is a sponsor that would be important in any time if you want to have a beautiful workspace, but it's especially important now when you need a safe one as well, and that's safecubbies.com, which offers modular office solutions designed to elevate your open office into a modern and safe environment at any budget. You can personalize your workspace with options like whiteboards, magnetic panels, acrylic sheets, and graphic branding. Most of the surfaces are non-porous for easy cleaning and can be removed or replaced within minutes. Now, this is for workplaces. They've got a bunch of different options on their professional series, but also they've got private room solutions, dividers and sneeze guards, and they have a classroom series as well. So if you're involved with a school, this is definitely something your school should check out, of course, if we have school in the fall. And that's the point here. We are entering a new normal period with COVID-19. Safe Cubbies safecubbies.com, which is locally owned, is the place that you want to go. The phone number is 754-216-1071. Again, that's 754-216-1071 or safecubbies.com.
All right, we'll get started. Ira Winderman, first question. Go ahead, Ira.
Jay, I want to get your reaction from last game when they were guarding you with Kemba. Every shot you took still was a three-pointer. I was wondering, one, if it was a surprise, and two, all we hear about is how playoffs are about adjustments. So if you see that again, would there be a different approach, or do you still have to stay in what you're doing?
Well, obviously, I don't want to give everything away through you. But obviously, we got to make adjustments, and that's what we've been doing. We've been practicing, watching film. We'll continue to do so. But obviously, it'll be a different game plan, different approach moving forward.
And then we see that a bunch of times. They try to park people on different people who maybe don't have complete roles in the offense. They played Enes Kanter for a while in the first half on Andre Iguodala, same type of thing. So now that you have a 3-day break and it's getting that way, without getting specific, I know you can't, is it only natural to see sort of this back and forth chess game? Thank you.
Yeah, it's the playoffs, Ira. You know, you've been a part of it. You saw it. It's about making adjustments and about moving pieces around and trying to adjust. So like I said, I can't give too much away. This is a chess match. This is two good teams going head to head, two good coaches coaching at their best. So, you know, we'll make adjustments. We'll be ready for Game 4, and that's all I can give right now. But obviously, we did watch film, or we will continue to watch film tonight in our meetings. So the game is about adjustments, and we'll definitely do our part about adjustments. But that's all I can give right now.
Tim Reynolds.
Can you give us all the adjustments? Obviously, you've been in this series twice, and the coach you played for the first time is the coach on the other side now. Are there parallels that you see between him and Spo? Like, are there things they do? I mean, obviously nobody does everything alike, but are there things that Brad does that you kind of see in Spo or vice versa?
Oh, I think the number one thing that sticks out to me is the attention to detail. Both coaches have preached that and pushed that with their teams, respectively. You know, you need that at this level. You need that at this time of the year, because both teams really know exactly what you're trying to get to. It's just about the level of detail that you're doing it and how much you're imposing your will. So I think the similarities is definitely the attention to detail that they both coach with, and they push it to their groups tremendously. So I think that's a hell of a compliment to both coaches.
And broadly about this series, I think Boston's won 7 or 8 of the quarters. You guys have won 2 of the 3 games. I know you guys weren't happy with the way the other night went, but can that get lost a little bit in that you are still winning the series?
Yeah, at this time of the year, I don't care how many quarters we win, as long as we win the game. Obviously, you want to play your best basketball for 48 minutes, but it's not going to always happen that way. So you got to find a way to win. And I think we've been doing a good job of just reacting and trying to find a way to win. But we definitely got to start the games better. We feel that. We feel that trickle down throughout the whole series. It's been like we got to start the games better to give ourselves a chance just to weather the storm, whether it comes in the third quarter or fourth quarter a little better. So with that being said, we know it, we feel it, and it's on us to make that adjustment. But no matter how many quarters they win or we win, at the end of the day, it matters who wins the game and who advances. So that's all we were focused on.
Anthony Chang.
Hey, Jay, you said during the Milwaukee series you kind of wanted to see the team go through some type of adversity. How do you feel like the team has kind of handled the past 24 to 36 hours? I understand you guys obviously still have a 2-1 series lead, and you're 10-2 in the playoffs, but how do you think the team has handled these past 36 hours?
Coming together today and putting up and working on some few things. Our spirit is right, our head is right, our energy is there. So I think we're responding the right way. We're just trying to get better and trying to see how we can play a complete game, play a complete 48-minute game, and be as sharp as we can be on both ends of the court. So with that being said, I think we took the loss or took the adversity in a good way, and we're still taking it in. We still have meetings tonight. We're still digesting the adversity we faced, and we're going to obviously talk it out and get better. But I think we're headed in the right direction when it comes to taking on the adversity and owning it as men and owning it as a group and trying to move forward.
And one more. If I'm looking at the tape, what did Boston do differently against the zone maybe that made it tougher on you guys when you guys, showed that look?
I mean, I just think they did a good job of just getting a body in the middle of the paint and just passing the ball well. But I think we could do a lot of things differently and a lot of things better at a higher level. I just feel like they were ready for it, they were equipped for it, and they did a good job of just moving the ball.
Rebecca Harlow?
Yeah, Jay, this team's been very effective at defending the paint. Obviously, that was a breakdown in Game 3, the points in the paint. Going through that film, what stands out to you there? And again, I know you're not going to give me all your adjustments, but what stands out there about what you guys need to do differently?
To keep it simple, just guard the ball better. Obviously, we can do a lot of different things to help the ball, the defender on the ball. But I feel like we got to get our pride back in and guarding the ball, guarding the guy in front of you. And making this tough as possible. And from there, we'll figure it out. But I think that's number one.
Jimmy said the other night, I thought this was interesting, that sometimes you guys can rely on Bam to be that last line of defense a little too much just because he's so good at it. Did you see that? Like, do you feel that way too, just in terms of making sure that you guys are all not having to rely on that?
Same, because the way our defense is schemed, it could be anybody pulling that. We call it pulling the trigger, being the low guy on the defensive end and being the last help of line of defense. But I feel like we do allow him a lot, but at the same time, sometimes we ask him to guard the perimeter. So that may be a different guy who's the low man. So I think all 5 guys on the court have to be Bam, in a sense, be that guy to come over and help a driver or stop the ball. So we know that we watch film on it. We can't rely on him all the time because we're asking a lot of him on that end. So it has to be multiple other guys.
Jason Jackson?
Hey, Jay, question about the time off after playing all these games, basically back day off in between. Has this been a blessing to be able to do the things that you're talking about, or is it a challenge because you want to get back to the hardwood?
I mean, it's really right there in the middle. I feel like with your body wise, you want that rest, but at the same time, the competitive nature, you want to get back out there, especially with a game that we had in Game 3. So we definitely taking our time and getting our bodies right. But at the same time, we have to continue to play the game and play the adjustments in our head and get prepared be the most prepared team for Game 4. So I feel like we are doing the things we have to do during this time apart from gameplay.
Ethan Skolnick?
Jay, 2 quick things. The first one is looking over some of the numbers. You guys missed more uncontested shots than you have the entire time in the entire playoffs. As you guys were watching the film, did you see that? I mean, it looked like you were getting the shots you wanted. It just, for a game, weren't going down.
Yeah, it was just for whatever reason. We were pleased with the shots we were taking, but we can be better at it too. We knew we had some room and we had some type of improvement to do on that end of the court. Just getting to our spots quicker and being ready. I think a couple of shots really caught us by surprise. Me, myself included. I just got to be always ready. And from that point on, our offense started clicking back to where it was at. But I think a lot of guys got some good looks at it, and for whatever reason, they didn't go. So we'll be more prepared for our shots and be prepared for the Florida offense come Game 4.
Jay, obviously you played with Jimmy a long time, and he doesn't seem to need a lot of outside motivation to get himself going. But can you tell in a game when he comes into a game when he's particularly hyped up or not, just in terms of his overall intensity?
You'll never be able to tell pregame because he's like me when it comes to pregame. He's always that quiet, listen to his music, in his own zone type player. He's not a really rah-rah type guy before the game. So only way you can really tell is by his play. I think he does do a lot of talking. He does do enough to be a leader in our locker room, but at the same time, to get himself going, he's not a guy who just sit there and talk about it. He's a guy who's about action. So you can definitely tell by the start of the game if he's in one of those moves where it's just going crazy all game, or letting the game come to him and filling it out into the fourth quarter and making a run at it. So whatever it is, we just need him to be on. We need him to be as locked in as possible, and we need the offense to flow through him and flow through Goran as much as possible. And obviously, we got a lot of guys who can play around those guys with the ball in their hands. So we'll be better come Game 4.
Thanks, Jared.
Jared Weiss from The Athletic.
Jay, when you were back in Boston, you guys had an offense that was a lot of top of the arc, pick and roll heavy, stuff like that. And now in Miami, the ball kind of flows kind of inside out. Has that made it different from you and your role kind of popping and flaring around the arc?
I mean, yeah, it fits to my versatility just to be able to put the ball on the ground and make a play, or just catch and shoot it in a rhythm that I'm comfortable with. Obviously, it's been good to touch the ball and have it pop around for everybody, not just myself, but for everybody to just get the touches and get to feel the ball, because I feel like when you have all 5 guys on the court who's live and able to score and able to make plays for one another, it makes us more dangerous. So it's been a great flow for us collectively, and I think we have a few adjustments to make just to make that run a little smoothly, because they are doing a good job of adjusting and making adjustments and throwing different lineups and different matchups for us. So it's definitely been beneficial for myself, but not only for myself, but for our team.
Hugh Hopkins from Sky Sports UK.
Thanks for talking to us, Jay. Goran struggled a bit in the last game, and he's been your leading scorer throughout the playoffs. So how important is he for you guys on the floor, but also how important is he as a teammate off the court?
Like I said, Gordon is one of our guys, one of our playmakers. So he has been a leading scorer, but at the same time, we expect him to make plays. That could be scoring, that could be his assist being up, that could be just getting our offense set and running. So we depend on him to do a lot of stuff on that end of the court, and we will continue to do so. But his leadership is very high in our locker room, and we love him as a leader. We know he's giving it his all. He's a hell of a competitor. He's someone you want to go to war with. So we know what we get from him. We just got to get him in better situations to make his playmaking get us back to where we're on the winning side of basketball.
That's great, thanks. And historically, are there any players that you would compare his game to?
I mean, in a sense, he's like a Steve Nash in a little bit, because he's so good in the pick and roll. He can do a lot of different things in the pick and roll. He gets his teammates involved, and he can score at a high clip. So I just think his pick and roll game is pretty high and up there with a great like Steve Nash.
That's great, thanks.
And Jay, our last question, Christos Saltos from SDNA Greece.
Hello, Jay. 2 questions. First of all, which will gonna be the key point for Game 4 against Celtics? And the second question is how different will gonna be your defense approach with Gordon Hayward on the other side?
Well, I feel like just to get Game 4 under control, I feel like first of all we have to play harder. I think those guys really play harder than us when it comes down to it. You can talk X's and O's all you want to. I just feel like those guys brought the fight to us from start to finish. And it's up to us to respond. And I think our defensive assignments on that end of the court with Gordon Hayward are the same. We just got to continue to make it hard. He's a respectable player in this league. He's an offensive threat. We know it. But we just want to continue to wear him down as much as possible, give him a lot of different looks, and have nothing come easy for him. So we know he can get it going, and we just don't want him to get going at all on us. And he's definitely a vocal point in what we're trying to do on that end of the court.
All right, Jay, thank you for your time. Appreciate it, sir.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Regional Sports Network.